Welcome to Real Talk Real Women. My name is Miriam Khalladi and today we have Danny Johnson from Texas on the show. Welcome, Danny. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're most welcome. Danny, you were a national level fitness figure and bikini competitor for 4 years, and now you're building a fitness empire with the Sweaty Betties, helping women all over the world lose weight and live healthier lives. Today you are a motivation to many, but that wasn't always the case. You had your share of struggles as a teen. Can you tell us what happened when you were only 15 years old?
Actually, I'll tell you, it started a little bit earlier than 15, of course. I was right around the time I was 13, we had a family member move into our house who had molested me when I was younger. And he moved in, and I guess at that point I got really scared it was going to happen again. And so I started just not coming home from school. I didn't want to be stuck in the house alone with him. And I just started struggling a lot with my self esteem. And I kept telling my parents to make him leave, and they thought I was just being selfish. They didn't know, what had been going on. And so by the time he finally did leave, I had already started down this path of just self destruction and feeling horrible about myself. And I actually started bulimic behavior. I started making myself throw up, and it had gone on for about a year and a half. And finally, one day, I told my mom to take me to the hospital. Basically, I would say I call it the mental hospital, but it was like a behavioral health center where basically you're like on lockdown. And I told her to take me there because I was suicidal, and I thought if she didn't take me there, I was going to kill myself. And while I was there, they do blood tests to make sure you're not on drugs and everything. And they called me into the room. They said they did my blood tests and they found out that I was pregnant. And of course, I was not expecting that news. And so my first thought was, I'm just going to have an abortion. I was going to kill myself anyway, so I don't care if I kill this baby, and just this horrible attitude. And I was really, really in a dark, dark place. And it was probably, not probably, it was definitely the worst period of my life. And shortly after I got out of that mental hospital, I was supposed to go to a eating disorder clinic to help with my bulimia. And I met this woman who worked at the eating disorder clinic, and I was alone in a room with her while the doctors were talking to my parents. And I had told her she knew I was pregnant, and she told me how she had been anorexic for years and she could no longer have kids, and she wished that she could. And I guess just talking to her, I felt like I should give her my baby. And so I changed my mind, and I had already actually had the abortion appointment set up. I was borrowing money from friends, and in Las Vegas, you didn't need parent consent. So I was just going to go and do it and get a ride from some friends. So I was 15 years old. I didn't have a car. I was just going to get the money and get friends to take me. And I told her, I said, I just want you to have my baby. And so she went home. She lived in another state, and that was kind of the plan. Well, she called me about a month later and said, we can't do it. It's going to cost $50,000 for us to adopt your baby. And I go, oh my gosh, now what? What do I do? Because my family life was not the kind of place I wanted to raise a kid in. And I was 15. I mean, I just didn't know what to do. I didn't want to drop out of school. And so I ended up going to an organization and asking about adoption. And I found out at that time that you could do semi-open adoption. So what that means is you're able to choose the parents, choose the family, and then have limited contact with them. So I wasn't allowed to know their last name, and I wasn't allowed to know where they lived. However, we were able to communicate through the agency. So they could send letters to the agency, and the agency would send letters to me. And so I had a little bit of communication. So I made the decision to place my daughter for adoption, and it was very, very hard. I couldn't decide on her family literally until, oh my gosh, about 3 or 4 days before she was born. And I was freaking out because I'm like, she's going to be born. I don't have any family. And I picked her family. They're amazing, amazing people. I got to meet them. And it was after she was born that I kind of changed the way I thought about things. I didn't want her to, I was kind of on that suicidal path where I thought I was just going to kill myself. And I realized after she was born, I didn't want her to grow up. And when she asked about her birth mom, to find out her birth mom had committed suicide and think that that was her fault. And so it was after she was born that I realized that I need to find something to live for, and I need to kind of turn my life around. I wanted her to grow up and find out about me and end up being proud of me and not disappointed and sad. And so after that, I just went back to high school. I had her in the summertime. I went to a new school so people didn't ask me questions. And I just put my nose to the books and graduated early, went to college and just kind of kept pushing and pushing it to just get rid of that part of my life that was so negative. And I won't say it was easy. It definitely was not an easy road, and it took years to get out of that mindset, but it was worth it. And so that's kind of, where I am now.
Wow, what an incredible journey.
It was definitely.
You left home when you were 18 after a very devastating time in your life. What was the one moment you decided to turn things around for yourself?
Well, the one moment I decided to turn things around for myself basically was my daughter's birth. And right after I got out of the hospital, at this point, I just had turned 16 and I wanted to leave my house so bad. So I made a chain. I don't know if you guys do this where you're at, but for Christmas here, a lot of the kids will make these paper chains and they make links for the 25 days to Christmas and you rip one off every day. Well, I made a chain from when I was 16 to 18 and it went around my whole room and I was counting down the days till I could turn 18 and move out. So I literally had made the decision right after she was born, I'm going to get out because I had a really rough time with my family and there was just a lot going on and I knew that staying there was bad for me. And I couldn't get out because I wasn't legal. So it was just for me, just looking at that chain and watching it get smaller and smaller was what kept me going. But I literally just moved out as soon as I could, and that was really the whole start of changing everything.
Looking back, what was the most difficult thing you had to learn back then to make it through that period?
Woo wee. Um, the most difficult thing, did you say?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow. Well, the whole thing was very difficult. I think really the hardest thing for me though was to find the self-worth and self-confidence because I just felt like I was worth nothing. And I felt like, especially having a baby as a teenager, I thought nobody would ever love me, nobody would want me. I would never have a boyfriend because I was like ruined. I could never have a husband because I had already had a kid. And so the hardest thing for me was to learn, and it didn't happen in those years. It really happened later, maybe in my 20s, but to learn that I was okay and I was still lovable and I was still a good person inside, regardless of what had happened to me and regardless of the choices that I had made. That there wasn't anything wrong with me. I just thought that way. And so that was the hardest thing. And that took a long, long time to figure out. And I think to this day, I think all of us still struggle with feelings of not being good enough for somebody or good enough to have all the things that we want. And so I still struggle to this day, but I know now that I'm not a result of what somebody did to me. I'm not a result of what happened to me. I'm not a result of being a pregnant teenager. I am okay just as I am. And so that was a hard thing to learn, but that was definitely the biggest lesson I think I needed to take out of it.
A lot of people have a very strong support system growing up, depending on their friends and family. Listening to your radio interview on Body Spot Radio, it came across as if you felt that you were facing the entire world on your own. Where did you find the strength to grow into the person that you are today? And what advice would you give to all these young women who are listening today who are feeling the same?
Well, you know what? A strong support system is very important. I definitely didn't feel that I had that at the time. I felt like my mom hated me, my dad hated me. Like, and when you're young, I mean, your family, that's all you really have. So, I started to reach out to friends, and I made a couple of friends, actually adult kind of mentors. And one of them was my social worker who helped me with the adoption. And so luckily, because because of the adoption scenario, I was able to go see that social worker as a counselor, and I really looked up to her. She was about 27, and she was just like a cool lady, and I think somebody I really wanted to be like. And her name was Stephanie, and Stephanie just she would put it into me. She's like, "Look," she would treat me like an adult, and she would treat me as if I could do anything, and she just made me believe that it was about my circumstances, and I was really lucky to have her and have that support. So I definitely wasn't completely alone, even though at home I felt that way. And I think for young women who feel that they're in that situation, try to reach out and find a mentor. Somebody even in your school, a teacher who maybe believes in you. Because I know that I see young women around, and there's definitely girls that I want to try to lift them up because I know, and there's adults out there like me who look at you and know they've been in that situation and they know what it's like. And so I do think it's important to try to find somebody. Friends are good, but when you're the same age, sometimes those friends only just relive it with you and they're not really able to get you out. And so I think somebody who's kind of a little bit older and maybe above you can kind of help guide you and give you some good direction. But it's so important to find that support, and you may not get it at home and you may never. My family and I have patched things up now, but if that didn't happen, I know that I would still be okay because I know how to look for support in other places. So you may never have that support from your family, and that's okay. You have to realize that there are people who will care about you, and there are people that will believe in you. So my biggest advice would be find some mentor, find somebody who's in your church, who's in your school, or somebody that you can talk to.
Oh, great advice. How important is the support of your husband and loved ones in your daily life?
So the support of my husband is amazing. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of I'm like an ideas person. I have lots of ideas and I'm kind of all over the place. And my husband is like that guy. I always say that he holds my brain. Like I'll leave my keys somewhere and he's like, okay, they're right here. And he's just one of those people that keeps me grounded, that keeps me focused, that reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. When I get dramatic and I'm going, I can't do this anymore, I don't think I'm making a difference, he's like, honey, look, you are making a difference. This is what you need to do. So he's one of those people that he's my best friend. I bounce ideas off of him. He keeps me sane. And I'll tell you what too, I've really found that having girlfriends, I never was really close to girls growing up. I always kind of felt like there was, I don't know, divas and gossipy stuff with girls. But I've found with doing Sweaty Betties how important it is to have female relationships and have female connections, because there's just some things that I love my husband dearly, but he doesn't understand when I get emotional or hormonal, and he can be there for me, but he doesn't know what it's like. And so I think it's so important to have those female bonds too, and to have females that you can really trust. So that's what I love about the Sweaty Betties community, is there are so many women that are just there to lift each other up. And instead of being jealous and tearing each other down, I realize that if we help each other, that we all grow and we all rise up. So my husband's amazing. I don't even know what I would do without him. But you know what? My girlfriends are even online girlfriends. A lot of these women I've never met, but they are like such a part of my life that I don't know what I'd do without them either.
You stated on the same interview that you wanted to grow into a person your child would be proud of. Do you feel you've accomplished that today?
Oh, I hope so. I'm on my way. I think I'm on my way, and it's funny now because I'll tell you something kind of crazy. She just turned 15 this year, and so that was the age that I got pregnant with her, and I freaked out. I'm going, oh my gosh, she's old enough. One, she's old enough to actually understand. She's old enough to find me on Facebook. If she wanted to look, she could. It'd be very easy because I'm all over the place. And I think about that now because I know right this moment she could be watching and looking. And I like to think so. She's definitely a teenager, so I might not be cool to her, or I might be cool to her. But I think that I've done and accomplished a lot. So I hope that she would be proud of me, and I think that I'm definitely on my way, and I'm still always striving to do better and to be better. So I hope so. We'll see.
And if she's watching now, what would you like to say to her?
Oh my gosh. If she's watching now, I think it's funny because I kind of know what she's doing now. I've actually seen her online, but I don't reach out to her and I don't talk to her. I want to wait till she's old enough to make that decision herself. But I just want her to know I'm really proud of her and what she's doing, and she's so much more amazing than I ever imagined, and she's so talented. It makes me cry. I'm just really,
Sorry.
I'm really, really impressed
Mhm.
with who she's become. And I'm really proud. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's okay.
I'm just really proud of her and who she is, not because she came from me, not because of anything else, just because of who she is. So,
Yeah.
sorry, make you cry too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Here, wait, I'm going to grab a napkin. I did my makeup for this show and now I'm ruining it. I think I could talk about it without crying, but then I can't. And you think after 15 years it gets easier, but it really doesn't. You know, the funny thing is that I remember when she was born and they said, okay, when she turns 18, she can find you if you want that to happen. So we said, sure. And we put our name on this list. So if she goes to this agency, she can look us up. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, 18 years is so long. That's never going to come. And the last 15 years have gone by so fast, actually. They've gone by so fast. I never thought that I would be, you know, talking about it like this. It literally feels like not that long ago. And I can't believe she's my age. I mean, she's the age that I was. And it's like kind of this mind boggling thing to me. And, you know, like a death of somebody, you know, people say that time makes it better. And it does in some ways. But I never stop thinking about her. I think about her all the time. It's not like there's a day that goes by that I don't. It's just a crazy thing, and I'm really, really grateful for technology that I can kind of. I keep in contact with her dad still, and so I know what's going on a little bit with her, and it's pretty amazing. The one thing that scared me about adoption was just giving her away and never knowing what happened. And so it gives me a little bit of comfort and I could sleep at night knowing that she's not with some crazy serial killers and doing awful. She's doing amazing. So it's really cool. It's a blessing, and I will tell any girl who may be in that situation, I would never tell a girl to choose adoption over abortion. It's definitely a choice you have to make, but it's not the end of the world. Having an unexpected pregnancy isn't the end of the world. Life goes on, and I never thought that there would be so many blessings that came out of it. I really thought my life is over. And really it was like my life began at that point. So there's a lot of things that can change, and when you're young it seems like you only have high school and things are just so heavy and so dramatic when you're in high school. But once you become an adult and you can run your own life, the sky's the limit and you could do so much. So I just hope girls can see that and know that whatever happens, whether it's a pregnancy or, you know, a drug overdose or something, that you can always come back from any setback and become more than you ever imagined.
Danny, thank you so much for your openness.
You're welcome.
In addition to helping women lose weight and feel healthier, you're also a public speaker helping girls build self-esteem, feel better about themselves, and realize how beautiful they are. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I love speaking. I really decided last year that I have a lot of stories. I mean, the story about my daughter, and I have another story of once I was 23, I actually was paralyzed. And I remember like all these things, like when I got pregnant, I thought, why is this happening to me? This isn't fair. Why me? Why me? Why me? And the same thing happened at the point I was paralyzed. And suddenly I realized that these stories are what made me who I am. And these are stories that I can show and tell others so they can go, oh my gosh, if she went through that and she's at this level now, then I can do it, you know? So I realized that by holding it in and not talking about it wasn't doing anyone any good. I went through it for a reason. And at the time, I didn't know the reason. At the time, I just thought God was punishing me and hated me or whatever. But I realized the reason now is so that I can help others. And so I think it's almost a responsibility for me to talk about that. And so any chance I get, and I have such a large audience. I mean, Sweaty Betty's at this moment has almost 34,000 fans on my page, and I have such a big reach. And for me to not use that reach in a positive way, I think it's taking advantage of it, and it's almost just doing people a disservice. And so I think it's really important for people who are in the public to be a role model and share the things that we've learned because we have an audience like that. So I did the inspiration and perspiration workshop. That was my first like live workshop, and I just talked to women about body image, self-esteem, diets, a lot of the things that I've learned, and we shared each other's stories. We asked all of these women about them, and they were able to share in a safe environment, and it created miracles. I mean, after that workshop, I had women, they're still writing me, telling me about how their lives have changed since. And so we have more coming up. I was going to do 4 this year, but I think I'm canceling Miami because it's really, really pricey. But I want to try to get at least 3 workshops in this year so more women can attend that and that I can speak out. And I really intend to just keep doing bigger and bigger audiences because I think the more I can get that out there, the more I can help other women who are, feeling the same way I did.
Wow, great job.
Thank you.
You overcame a lot of hardship in your life. What are some of the things you struggle with today as a business owner?
Whew. So some of the things I struggle with today as a business owner, one is still confidence. Sometimes I just wonder, when the money's not coming in, especially when you start off, it's like a lot of spending, your branding. I spent money on graphic artists. I spent money on website building, and you're spending all this money and you're not seeing a return. And it's just, sometimes you go, maybe I should just quit and just go get a job because this isn't paying out, and I think it's kind of like, when you plant a seed and you're waiting and you're watering and you're watering and you're watering and you're waiting and nothing is happening. And it may take a whole season, it may take a few years, and then you have a tree, and then you produce so much fruit that you can feed your friends and family, and there's so much. And I think a business is like that. And what's hard for a lot of people is they give up at the beginning because they're not seeing that tree come up. And I definitely go through that, and I just have to remind myself that I'm building for later. I'm building to make sure that soon I will have that fruit and I will have abundance that I can share. And so, gosh, last year was a real big struggle for me financially, and I was just about ready to give up. And then literally, I think I sat in my car and I was thinking about just shutting down Facebook, shutting down my website, and just going to get a job. And I started laughing at myself because I've got this nose ring, and I go, who's going to hire me? And I got an email from some lady. I have no idea who she was. I've never seen her on my Facebook page. She wrote me this email, like the longest email, like a book, about how I saved her life. And she was so appreciative to everything that I've shared. And I was like, you know what? This is why I'm doing it. This is why. I don't know who there's a lot of people who are very vocal on my page, but there's a lot of people who never say a word, they never comment, they never like or share, but they're still watching. And she was one of those people. I've never seen her before, and she just wrote me this long, like, pour out her heart email, and I go, oh my gosh, people are listening, people are paying attention, and I'm making a difference. And even if it's just one person, I just have to keep going. And so I just go, all right, I'll just strap down the money, and I understand that it's going to come, and it might not be right now, but I'm just going to keep going. So I think as a business owner, you got to remember, like, think about your why. Why are you doing this? Are you here to help people? Are you here to create a solution? And do you believe in your product? I mean, even if it's just a product like jewelry or makeup, if you believe in your product and you really want to help people, you just got to realize you got to keep going, keep going. It's just, it's a grind. It's a grind, but every day you just make a little more effort, and pretty soon the tree will open up and the fruit will come.
I agree. What's the most important life lesson you've learned this far?
The most important life lesson. Gosh, there's so many. Hold on, my battery power. Man, I think the most important life lesson is kind of what I said before, is just knowing that everything about you is okay. You are perfect as you are. You are made to fill out your purpose, and there's nothing that you're lacking. some people are made to be speakers and some people are made to be influencers and reach an audience. I think that that's kind of my purpose that I'm fulfilling now. Some people are made to write, some people are made to do technology. I mean, believe me, I struggled with doing these videos and editing and all this stuff that I freaked out, but I have great friends who know how to do it. And I'm so thankful for people who can do the things that I can't do. And so not everybody's made to be me. Not everybody's made to share their stories in this way. But you have to realize that whatever is in you is made to just grow and be bigger and just use your own natural abilities and talents. So don't worry about what other people are achieving or what other people are doing, because you really have a gift inside you. And I think we struggle with that. We see celebrities and we think we need to be a certain way, but you only need to be you, and you're okay. You need to just be okay with that. And that's took me a long time. I think for a long time I tried to find out who I was, or I was trying to be somebody else. But I realized I was just okay being me. And that's what we need to find.
You were a professional athlete. You've helped thousands of people with their health. You traveled the world. What has been your best experience this far?
Oh my gosh. So I don't know if you know this, but I've traveled to 31 different countries.
Oh,
I love to travel, and when I was 21, I made a decision. I had a goal to see 30 countries by the time I was 30. So I've done all that traveling. I've jumped out of a plane twice. I've done bungee jumping. But I will tell you the best experience. I was an acrobat at SeaWorld in 2003, and this was actually what got me paralyzed. But it was the most amazing life experience. I remember every day waking up thinking I was so lucky to get paid to basically fly. I mean, I'd launch off these swing sets 30 feet in the air into water, and we had this audience, and I loved performing, and it was just like magical. I always wanted to be like a rock star. So this was like my rock star moment where I was just like the I wasn't the star of the show. There was lots of us, but it felt so good. And that was probably the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I think too why I liked competing and I like speaking is I liked being on stage. I kind of liked being not the center of attention, but kind of, so it was that part of my life was just amazing. And then every time I travel, I have amazing experiences. And I just decided, after my daughter was born, that I just need to find experiences to live for. I mean, you can't take anything with you when you die, and when you get old, all you have is your stories. So my goal is just to make as many stories as I can.
I always like to ask my guests what the number one question is that people never ask them but really should. What do you wish people ask you more often?
What people don't ask me but really should? Good question. I think this is a hard one. I think maybe some people ask this, but not always. They ask, or I think maybe people should ask me, where was my favorite place to go? Because I've been to so many countries. And the answer is, it's so funny, it was Latvia. And I actually had never heard of this country before I went there. I have no idea where Latvia was. I kind of went on this trip because it hit 10 countries and I wanted to get all my countries in. But Riga was this beautiful city, and it was like amazing because I swear all the women that lived there were like supermodels. They're all like 6 foot tall blondes wearing high heels walking around, and I felt like I was in this twilight zone of beautiful people. I think all the like gorgeous people are hiding in Latvia. And so it was a cool just to sit and people watch in this old town mixed with modern stuff. And I always want to talk to people about that and tell them to go there. And so I think that's the one question people don't ask, but they should, because I want everybody to go to Latvia.
Okay, great. Is there anything else you feel we've missed that you would like to cover today?
I just want to tell people where they can find me. I'm definitely Facebook is the first place to look, the Sweaty Betties Facebook page. And then I'm always on Twitter, and just keep an eye out on my website. Make sure you get on my newsletters because I get more personal in those. Sometimes Facebook, can be judgy and you get some crazy comments, but I kind of really open up in my newsletters, and I talk to people about depression and some things that I've dealt with and how to get through them on their own too. And I do lots of webinars. I've been doing interviews with other fitness and nutrition gurus. Those are really fun. And of course, the inspiration and perspiration workshops, if you can make it. Of course, you're pretty far, but I would love for someone to fly out and make it to one of those events. But yeah, just find me on thesweatybetties.com. It's thesweatybetties.com. Get on my newsletter because I love to interact. And I really do know a lot of my fans on a more personal level because I interact really well and I chat back and I talk back and I try to answer every email. And it may take me a month to answer, but I always get to them. I just get a little slammed sometimes, but I do respond because I think everybody's stories are important and I want to make sure people know that they are important and don't feel ignored.
Thank you. I will make sure to put the links down below the video.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you so much, Danny, for being on the show. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to share it with people.
Thank you so much again. My name is Miriam Khalladi, and I will see you on the next episode of Real Talk, Real Women.